Unless we do something radical to alter our dependence on one pipeline, one oil field, I think we are looking for some pretty serious difficulties in the future.
If the message is this: there are times when it's very important for the state to invest in infrastructure. I think those times are when the economy is really weak or when the economy is really uncertain.
Without this, we're toast. We are too dependent on one industry. That industry is declining, and we look toward future projects like the gas pipeline is helping out. But really, we need a broader diversification. The secret to that, one of the secrets to that is mining.
Tim Bradner is the leading natural resources writer in Alaska. CEOs and legislators alike look to his insight on economic development.
Mining represents a huge potential for jobs, added tax base for local governments. And the key to the mining, really, particularly large mines, is access, transportation access. Railroads are a critical component of that.
What does the rail extension mean to this regional economy? Number one, it opens up the interior to resource development. It facilitates the development of world-class limestone deposits in Livengood, just north of Fairbanks. It facilitates the development of a cement production plant in or around Fairbanks. It opens up a development corridor along the rail belt to exploration and extraction of strategic minerals, dramatically improves the world competitiveness of Alaska coal, significantly reduces transportation cost and staging costs for the gas line construction project.
Former Anchorage Mayor Rick Mystrom says some from Anchorage view Port MacKenzie, just 2 miles across the water, as where they used to hunt ducks. But these duck hunting grounds have grown into the northernmost deep draft dock in the nation. With nearly 9,000 acres of industrial land, Port MacKenzie may be the missing link for sizable Alaska projects that require significant staging area. The mean low tide is 60 feet. Anchorage's is half that and requires regular costly dredging. The largest vessels in the world, Cape-sized ships, can dock here.
For the 400,000 tons of material, we're looking at approximately $637,000 revenue in about a 3-week period to the port and to the borough.
At Port MacKenzie, dirt already started moving on the future rail loop. This summer, the barge dock expands from 8 acres to 16, making it a tremendous staging area, unlike any other Alaska port.
When I think about Livengood as an example, concrete. Now we know that presently we're bringing concrete offshore into Matsu, which is a good thing business-wise, but by and large, what a beauty it would be for us to be shipping things the other direction for balance of payment to some nations that at this point in time that we're debtor to.
You know, Port MacKenzie is a port. We're talking about the plateau up there in the rail yard piece. There are other components that go down the bluff that all have to come together to make a port like I'm talking about. And that's the future of Port MacKenzie, to see those phases take place. And if they do, I mean, the interior is there waiting in terms of the resources. Now we've got to find the customers.
Finding customers hasn't been a problem. Visits have stepped up, including the 3 major oil companies, a pipeline company, tank farm operators, sea lift module builders, miners, and most recently, Chinese investors.
You know, Kenai's not quite big enough, Seward's not big enough, Valdez is not big enough, and so really it narrows it right up. And the Port MacKenzie really has a lot of nice features in the last few years that have really attracted the majors. And we've made some tours out there with them. All of them in the next 4 or 5 years have major truckable and some sea lift opportunities. The rail extension really is kind of the last piece of the infrastructure there. We've got the roads, we've got the communications, we've got the natural gas, we've got everything that we need, including, of course, the dock, to do what we need to do. And that rail extension really, we believe is the last piece.
We need to plan for the future to diversify the economy in the state of Alaska, and this rail spur to Port MacKenzie is one of the ways that we can do that.
Currently, our operations to Seward are pretty much at capacity, so a second port facility would allow us to increase our export market. Over the years, we actually have exported our coal to South Korea, Chile, Russia, China, and Japan.
Last year was a record year for Usabelli Coal Mine. They produced 1.8 million tons of coal. In Healy, Alaska, Usabelli has 700 million tons in reserves. At 2 million tons a year, that's enough coal to last 350 years. Port MacKenzie Rail makes Alaska coal more competitive on the world market.
It's not just distance, it's how the tracks are designed, what the grades are, what space is available. And Port MacKenzie has essentially a horizontal grade from Windy Pass near Cantwell to Tidewater. It's all downhill and it's very gentle grades, large areas for looping the tracks and not having to break the trains apart in order to offload and onload materials.
In 1979, Metz and his graduate students at the University of Alaska Fairbanks College of Engineering and Mines took another look for gold in the Fairbanks district against the conventional wisdom of the day. But miner Joe Taylor saw enough in the student maps and surveys to stake a claim on what later became the Fort Knox mine. $1.2 billion in gold has come out of Fort Knox. Today, Metz points to a new gold discovery farther north near Livengood, which is projected to be 2.5 times the size of Fort Knox. The low-grade ore mine will need rail to supply its operations. This new mine isn't even a part of Metz's other projections for minerals.
It's an excellent business case. Within that 100-mile wide corridor, just between Point MacKenzie and Delta Junction, there's a large volume of potential base metals deposits that could be positively impacted by Point MacKenzie. And I estimated that it'd be about, at today's metal prices, the expected production from those mines over the next 100 years would be about $85 billion at today's prices. So nearly $1 billion a year.
And those dollars spread around a lot. It means a lot to the interior. And we stand by to do whatever we can to help the Mat-Su Borough develop that port facility and the rail spur down to there.
You bet Mat-Su Borough benefits, but the major beneficiary is the state of Alaska, all of the residents of our state.
Certainly the state of Alaska has a responsibility to basically provide the infrastructure requirements that we see as necessary to support the basic needs and development of the state.
You can work in the state. You don't have to leave. You know, we've got good jobs for you. I raised both of my kids here, and they still both live here, and I'm fortunate enough that they do have work. But I certainly have known a lot that haven't had work, and they would have loved to have stayed. So I think it's going to be important for our future.
Our business would benefit from that, whether or not we are involved directly in the work associated with the project. I would expect we would get some direct involvement in some of the infrastructure structures and whatnot, but I'm for it.
And in terms of the Alaskan economy, it means something that will answer the question about what happens once the oil is gone on the North Slope. So we're talking 3,000 jobs to construct a rail line down to Port MacKenzie, and then 5,000 jobs afterwards related to the mineral development occurring along the corridor of the rail line. Very big project. This is something that the state has to do in terms of diversifying its economy. It is the answer to dwindling oil reserves on the North Slope.